We're now live. Hey everyone, my name is Samrat, and I welcome you all to the Baseline Show once again. We do this every Saturday. This is official office hours of Baseline Protocol in India. This is specifically for the Indian community to hop on to the Baseline bus. We have with us our usual suspects, Mark Haddle, Mohan, who are baseliners, who are proud baseliners already. And we also have Anushri with us as a guest today, but I'm sure she's going to be joining us as a proud baseliner very, very soon. So I welcome you, Anushri. Thank you so much for making it to the baseline show today. How are you?
Thanks, Samrat. I'm great. Hey, Mark. Hey, Mohan. Uh, so, yeah, it is very humble. I'm very thankful, Samrat, for making me join this session. Uh, so, just to give everybody a brief idea how I'm connected to this session is through Samrat. Samrat is a great friend of mine. We've done our college together, and we've done a lot of projects in the college, a lot of revolutionary projects, I'll say, in the college, and achieved few establishments there. And since then, we both have shared some sort of vision towards doing something out of the box and doing some great things. Of course, Samrat has been doing things in his own area. I've been working a lot in telecommunication sectors.
Yeah,
When I heard about this baseline, I've been very much in touch with Samrat to understand exactly what's this and what's this new thing. It's just a curiosity. I attended few sessions last time, and it looked
yeah,
quite interesting. And I had this idea as well that definitely this idea can impact a lot of strategies in telecommunication domain in terms of technology. So here I am. I'll be just wanting to discuss some of the potential areas probably around telecommunication, and we can, you guys being experts in baseline, you can pitch in where you think baseline could be a benefit to this domain as well. So yeah, that's it from my side. So maybe you can start with the slide. There's a small, very quick DIY
yeah.
sort of deck I
Just,
prepared.
just yeah. It's just a bare bone deck just to give a direction to the conversation. So as some of you may have noticed, I'm in a different background. So I'm in the beautiful city of Bangalore, the Silicon Valley of India, and I'm doing this baseline show from Bangalore for the first time. This is something very interesting because I also met some leaders here who are super keen on joining baseline, and I think we're just getting started. In India, the community in India is just getting started. So very exciting times ahead of us. I'm super pumped having those meetings, having those discussions, bringing leaders on board the baseline bus. So with that, Anushri happens to be a very, very strong professional in the telecom domain. So Mohan, Mark, I think we need to make this episode in a way that this can be referenced in future. People watching us on YouTube, and this can be referenced in future, saying that this is how telecom companies should see value in joining the baseline consortium as sponsors. We're going to be calling a lot of sponsors. We need sponsors, we need maintainers, we need all people in all roles to join baseline. And Anushri, as an individual self, you've also joined baseline. Thank you so much for that. So let's shape it up in a way that we attract the right people from the ecosystem of telecom, not just providers or sim card, not just connectivity providers, but even software providers for that matter. So Anushri, why don't you talk to us, and in general, people watching us on YouTube, that how how's the ecosystem structured? How does data exchange happen in telecom
Yeah.
in general? And we're going to find some pockets where baseline can come in and sort of make a difference, improve speed, improve agility, improve efficiency, etc. So let's look at some areas. I'm happy to project your slides which you shared a little earlier.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. We can start from
Okay,
there,
awesome.
Samrat.
Sure, let's do that. So yeah, we know you now, so we can easily skip to the next slide.
Yeah. I think you need to just present it, as in press F5 or something. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I've given like I mentioned, I've been working in telecommunication industry for 14 plus years. Currently working as a lead solution architect for one of the organizations. I'm based in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur at the moment, and I've been dealing with clients worldwide and Japan and Asia, APAC mainly, and Philippines. Yeah, so multiple projects that I've been working at the moment. And my work is towards more OSS and BSS telecom sector. I have also worked a lot in the network layer of the telecommunications. My main expertise would be solution design and implementation for end-to-end full stack of these components. And yeah, my interest a lot nowadays, like everybody is moving towards IoT and connected devices and everything. So I am a lot investing my head towards that, reading through the big data technologies and all. My work makes me focus towards policy and charging systems as well. These are the main telecommunication solutions that currently are the ones which my project is based on. These systems are something like, you can say that, let's say person A calls to person B, then whatever happens in between is basically the charging system. I'm sure you guys know. And then per event, every event leaves some packets, and these packets lead to some kind of data. These data are then provided to service providers, which they further use it for billing or analytics recommendation kind of systems, right? And also the policy enforcement, where we force the subscriber to only browse to certain speed. If let's say your data packet has finished, then you will be throttled to some other speed. So these are the solutions I've been working on. Yeah, I paint a lot. So just about myself, I'm a painter by passion. So I've participated in art exhibitions as well in Malaysia. So that's like my part-time. And there's a LinkedIn if anybody wants to follow. I guess we can move to the next slide.
Yeah, do post this on our Slack channel as well. People are really enthusiastic. And I've been getting a lot of requests and questions. People sending me DMs and asking me questions about stuff. So it's interesting. Yeah. So thank you so much. And Anushri, I think particularly what is interesting is the event-based charging systems. I think that is something really cool. Um, uh, Sits on tons of data, has it's very close to a company's revenue cycle. You're billing people, you're making revenue, you're charging them. So yeah, throughout your talk, try and more, lean more towards charging systems. I think that is something very interesting for me. So yeah, you want me to go to the next one? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Samrat, you mentioned the charging system. So the main focus of charging system is to gather the data, like generate data and then provide it to service providers, like I mentioned. And every cycle, every step of this event, wherever you touch an internet, there is a data event generated. So I was just wondering, we all discuss, like, what is data? That comes, maybe a 10 years old boy can tell what is data, but nowadays we are moving towards big data, because all the things, everything is connected, and every step generates one set of data. These data set gets generated from subscribers, from subscriber devices, the network, their location, their speed at which they are browsing the data. So in the charging solutions, we also store such data. These are humongous amount of data, like the subscriber, their loyalty, whether they are premium or not, what kind of data they usually browse with, what kind of plans they purchase. All these data we do store in our telecom backend. And these data, there's an interesting point there that these data are such big that nowadays there's no need, we cannot maintain a structured database. It's all structured, unstructured, uh, scalable amount of data, because the um, the the size of data keeps varying, and the proportion by which it increases is humongous. And we have seen the projections. I'll talk about that also in the later slides. It's huge. So that is just about the subscriber. Then the subscriber, whatever they're browsing, the call record data events which gets generated, that is there, plus the events that's happening with when he moves from cell A to cell B while being in the car. There are multiple data that gets generated, and these are being used by service providers or analytical companies, or even my own company would use these data, generate such systems which can generate some reports or some kind of recommendations that gives the advertising companies some basis where they can sell customer A this plan, which is very much customized for that person. So this is the trend that's going on, and the big data that comes from everything, from your smartwatch to your cars to your even refrigerators or your e-cards, everything. So it's all, we are definitely walking towards a future which is all connected. So and in this data, another interesting point that I find is that nothing goes waste. Nothing goes for waste. Every data constitutes to something. So we have to store, there's a need to store all sort of data.
Now that's an interesting perspective, because I always thought that people are probably looking at 200 reports and not everything makes sense, right? But I think from an analytics perspective, from drawing cohorts, from understanding user behavior, every data point has some value, for sure.
Yeah,
and we can define interconnectivities, etc. That's very
gone
interesting.
are the days where reports were just some kind of audit purpose, for audit or something. We used to have these reports generated. Nowadays, every data that gets generated, there's reports which constitute to further business. So that is an important aspect. So all these, like, how do we manage all this data is something very interesting. And now we are walking into 5G, the fifth generation network service, which basically becomes the basis to all these connected devices. Till 4G, we were using internet as internet, but now it's internet of everything. So there's IoT concept that has built up, and 5G is something that is leveraging these concepts. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you go to the next slide, Samrat.
Yeah, sure. So 5G definitely is the genesis of connected everything. Mark and I, we've been talking about very interesting data points and even connected devices, connected services. We had one dedicated episode on talking about insurance, that how it sort of ties in. It can be insurance companies analyzing what their customers are doing, where all are they shopping. It can be anything, and then eventually designing plans for them if they're fit guys, reading information from their devices, the fit guys giving them custom plans, etc. So yeah, it's sort of tying in to what we've been talking about. And it also brings me to another point which is extremely important, which is the sanity of that data that we are collecting. It has to be structured, it has to be sane, it has to be correct,
meaningful.
That integrity is also important, because if there is junk data being collected and analyzed and looked at and decisions being made on, then I think we are planning for trouble. So I think that is really cool. Mohan happens to be our data guard within the baseline community, where he's ex Tibco. He knows how systems and companies talk to each other. He's designed those buses. That's what I understand. Mohan, correct me if I'm wrong. So
yeah, I've worked on basically messaging platforms.
Almost bang on with your introduction. Okay. No, so yeah, Mohan, I just want to sort of bring you in and get your perspective on, where are we headed with 5G? What do you think is going to change for us, and how's baseline coming in here?
Well, I only have, I don't have a direct perspective, but I've been asking about. One of my good friends, is a CFO or Chief Operating Officer of a company called Beyond, which is basically, as Anish was pointing out, an analytics platform for 5G, telco
Yeah.
fundamentally.
Yeah.
So they're a global platform. And what I heard from him was that they have not considered blockchain in general because of performance issues, right? Because you're talking about extreme throughput and speed of events. And so they don't see that, they didn't think blockchain was quite relevant. But the thing here I mentioned to him is it depends on what you're looking at. I mean, if you're looking at putting data, yes, it obviously doesn't make sense. But if you're looking at putting out useful things in the public net that others can basically systems of records that you want a common point of reference, then you could, because if you do it more as a critical, important events that you kind of put out on the chain, critical things like maybe there's an NFT or things like that. And so, there's not so much that you want to log all the data, which is what, baseliners all say. It's not about putting data on the blockchain, but, just a static state, right? So that's the one perspective I know. But, beyond that, it really depends on what Anushi can identify as perhaps being some interesting things that could interesting use cases. There is, I think, Andreas Freund actually is involved with mobility blockchain, sort of for autonomous vehicles and so the car industry fundamentally. And there again, you have a lot of real-time data, and so it'd be interesting to see if Andreas could come in and chime in on his perspective, given mobility, and how perhaps telco could also benefit. That's all I have.
Yeah. Yeah, Mohan, that's a great insight. So, yeah, like you mentioned, yeah, of course, the data that we have is part of uh, the future, which is big data and everything. The main important, the selling point that service providers stick on now, what I see is the intelligence on how they can, how quickly, how swiftly they can use this data, and the intelligence that binds certain set of data to bring out some information which is meaningful and used for the business. And this data, these keeps on changing very quickly. So the intelligence is one part of it that I find that intelligence and speed is one part where I find that baseline can be of use. Another major point that I see is the integration point. The concept of 5G is that in terms of technology and the infrastructure is that it's all modularized. So every component in 5G is working individually. And because these are huge big data and need scalability and all, so most of the deployments that we work on is all microservices based, which is scalable dynamically. As the data comes in, the data size becomes bigger, then the service providers can, scale their instances. So, and each module works separately and they talk to each other. So every module also shreds out data. So the integration of data is very important aspect where reliability, security, fast speed, everything is required. I do have that in the slide we can discuss, but yeah, that is the integration in 5G is a huge factor, which is yeah, like it says, it's the driving force for data creation, where every module will shred out data and that data can be utilized. Let's say a charging function talks to an analytical function, then when they push the information to the analytics functions, then there are certain exchanges that happens when we store all those records, all those tokens, all those the small details of the subscriber and their location or profiles or whatever. So every aspect has a data creation created over there. So
Okay.
that is the main concept in 5G that I think baseline can benefit with.
And Anushri, can these be different companies doing these functions?
Definitely, yes. So that is the fun part. Since it's all integration, like there are multiple integration points, so it's all modular. So
Mm.
one company can focus on, let's say, a charging function. Another can do the policy PCS, which is PCS. So they both can talk to each other, but these companies can totally talk to their components via integrated gateways. Okay, so these are like REST APIs and via REST APIs and all. So yeah, those are the technology part over there. But of course, the main concept is that to bring multiple modules together via gateways and then talk to each other. So definitely, it can be different companies.
Mm. Awesome.
That's the funny part. That's like 5G is actually built. Is the concept of 5G basically brings everything together. Like your
Mm.
phone can let you utilize, like from your phone you can switch on your light, switch off your, bring on your curtains, just manage your
Yeah.
refrigerator. So every module, the same concept lies even in the infrastructure. Every module can be of different aspects, different companies, whatever, but they can talk to each other.
Mm. So Mark and I, we were discussing this just last episode, I think, when we picked up ordering a pizza via an Alexa device, right? Right, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
and another thing is that you too, an issue's point is that you have so many different points of data that are coming from so many different platforms and sources. One of the compelling capabilities that really comes into play here is, from a user standpoint, they want to be able to consume these services as a single transaction, and they
yeah.
want to be able to saying, I just want to, and you want to be able to disperse, the payment of that across all of the different data point providers. And that's where you kind of need that unifying type capability. Because if they have to sit there and say, well, you need to pay 23 cents here and 41 cents there and somewhere, and it's just not going to work. They need to actually have that unified for the user interface so that they can pay for whatever it is that they're consuming in a single transaction.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the benefit, the thing that benefits telecom domain as a base is that it's all standardized. Like every company will follow a standard set of request response, the AVPs that comes into picture, the minute parameters. Those are well defined. It's like nobody a good service provider won't breach such standards. So when it comes out, it's all standard. Every company is working with those standards in place. So it's the integration technology-wise, it's not so painful, but still it generates various sets of data.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's exciting. So Anushri, back to your talk. I think
Sure.
we keep interrupting you, but I think this is interesting.
No, that's
The
good.
way we
Yeah,
the way
no,
we're
I'm
progressing.
finding it's fun to have the various aspects. So please jump in.
Yeah, one way presentation is not our thing.
No, 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 that's
Cool.
it.
You
Yeah.
want to go to the next one?
Yeah, because the next slide, I just wanted to, I think we covered this that, the 5G is the future, and you can see the size of data, like how it has changed, like, and the, speed. So 5G is promising every one of us to have very high speed. So this would be something like one subscriber will be connected. The projection is something like one subscriber will be connected to at least 9 live devices at one point of time. That is what the basis has been taken in terms of performance and reliability. And that is going to be the future as well. You'll be definitely connected to at least 9 devices. So you can imagine a population of India times 9, then times how much data has been generated. So that is the kind of database sizing that we are looking into it. And also the speed. So the concept of 5G also runs in terms of network. I can just briefly tell that it is towards slicing. So as a user, you will be entitled to have a subscription in a certain slice, like a normal let's say us as a normal any layman, he or she can buy a plan, and that plan would give them a bandwidth from a certain slice of it. Now the another organization, like bigger organization, which require higher speed and higher data, then they will be placed into another network slice. So it's totally up to you what kind of slicing you want. If you can afford, if you come and do that bandwidth, then you will be like your provisioning will be done in that slicing, and your data and your speed, everything will be adjusted according to that. So that is a fun concept as well. You'll be like, if you require more data, you can opt for higher slicing. Like your Netflix can run on a lower network slice, whereas you want to do some, like the organizations will be on higher slice, something like that. Yeah, we do have. Go ahead.
I think looking at the data sizes and the progression, I think it just brings one thought that, here is a highway so wide that you are tempted to go, you're tempted to have more vehicles, and you're tempted to go faster and stuff like that. So I think, and that, in the telecom parlance or in the end user computing parlance, I think it translates to more usage, more data getting generated, and more and more ecosystem players sitting on heaps of data which they need to make sense of. Right?
And ours is a privileged generation probably who have been able to see this transition, and definitely it's our role to make the future better here. So if you go to the next slide, Samrat. So this is again just a projection on how machine-to-machine data sizing will vary, and 2030 is going to be crazy. Furthermore, years are going to be further crazy, I'm sure. When people start living on moon, then it's going to be further crazy. So definitely the sizing is going to change. I think
these are absolutely crazy volumes. But so do you also see any constraints, while this happens, while we are traversing the exabytes, do you also see any constraints, any challenges, any evolution coming into devices, into human beings, into usage trends, etc.?
Okay, now that is a huge topic altogether. The challenges would be a lot. So knowing, being born in India and then staying here, I know there will be huge challenges in terms of infrastructure, because when 5G promises you a high speed, probably every 200, not 200 meters, I'll say maybe every 2 kilometers, there will be a booster. There will be devices that is required to be placed so that everybody is connected. It's like Wi-Fi everywhere, sort of. It should be on air. So infrastructure is one major aspect that I see as a pain point, but then it needs to be established. It will be established. That's what we are heading towards.
We'll pick it up maybe in a subsequent one, but let's focus on the data exchange and how does that work?
So in terms of data management, there will be security issues. There would be loss of packets, loss of accuracy kind of issues. That's what I see. So anything that integrates the data between the 2 points, that becomes very ethical point of question over there. So whatever comes in, let's say baseline or anything that comes in, has to be very much reliable, very secure platform. Otherwise, we would, as a user, I would not be comfortable that my
that's what we were working on. That's why the community came together. That's what we were working on. So build a robust.
Like without my consent, which comes as a contract of, let's say, WhatsApp or anything. Without my consent, if my data goes out, then it's that's altogether legal issue. So we should not get into that. So any platform that comes in, I think that security is one of the aspects that's concerned. But we'll see how it pans out. Apart from that, that's what I mentioned, like 5 essentials towards data management when it goes, when we step towards future, that
Mm,
integration should be seamless, the processing should be very fast paced,
mm,
and this requires you high reliability, low latency. So components that talking to each other, there's no time. There's very quick change in the data set also. Your own data can change very quickly. So you need to, like, service providers and the marketing agency need to capture, tap on the very high speed data that is coming in. And then
mm,
this aspect is something we talked about last time also, data reconciliation. So there are
yeah,
multiple systems, there's billing systems, there's charging systems, and the data travels between billing and charging. On a very smaller portion, I would say, like how I've been working in my project, I would make sure that data that is at the charging system is there in the same way, in the same content, the size is same, everything is same on the BSS, that is the billing system. Like I cannot make a call as a user and then if the packet gets lost, then the billing system doesn't bill me. That altogether is a loss. So
mm,
there's we service providers cannot afford packet losses, the data loss, and also at the same time the subscriber also cannot uh,
yeah,
afford such loss. So data
yeah,
reconciliation, the accuracy, efficiency is a very important aspect of that, and so is data security across multiple platforms, and
right,
definitely the data scalability. Like I said, it has to be dynamically scalable. So as the data
right,
is coming in, there needs to be some intelligence that processes the size of the data and then it scales. We
mm,
we do call that containers and microservices, right? So these can have intelligent systems, and then they further expand and scale as as soon as the data starts growing. Because overnight here things change. Like overnight, video goes viral or something, your hits on a website goes crazy, and you need to have scalable data sets
mm,
which can
mm,
be stored. So
mm.
that is an important aspect as well.
Okay, very interesting, very interesting. No, I think at this point we can also bring in Mark and Mohan,
Yeah,
and sort of take their perspectives on, while we're saying on one side we're saying the highway is evolving, and there are high speeds, too many vehicles, a lot of data points being captured, a lot of data being created in general. I'm using somebody else's office, and there's so
yeah,
much
we can
happening
see
around
that,
me.
Samrat.
Yeah, I keep seeing here and there. There's a big gathering actually, and somebody's speaking on a mic. So I keep
That's
I'm
okay. That's
I'm
called
hoping that people
efficiency.
you guys are not. So I'm hoping you guys are not hearing all that, right? There's a big
No,
announcement stuff going on
it's
here.
quite fine.
Okay. So so yeah, I was saying, while all this is happening, while we're looking at this new data revolution, on the other side are these systems, and there are companies who have organically grown, as big warehouses of data, so to say, storehouses of data. So at times I see, even within the company, they're not using their data to the best possible extent, in terms of
Yeah,
analytics, in terms of intelligence, etc. So and then forget about multiple companies coming on board and creating something absolutely wonderful. So I think here is one big gap, which sort of baseline can plug in, where two companies are talking to each other about a data set, which is let's say about a certain set of consumers. Now that set of consumers may be common for these companies, one company being, let's say, just for example's sake, one company is an insurance company, the other is a telecom company. Now these two talking together and saying, you know what, most of our consumers are all, let's say 80% consumers are the same. What else can we do to bring in the rest 20%? How do we synchronize? Okay, one way is acquisition, but
Actually,
that's not happening. These are big guys. Yeah, man, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I wanted to make a point right off the bat. There's something interesting about the baseline implementation provided by MATS, or provided by Provide. Sorry, Provide. So if you look at baseline as a design pattern, as a standard, where anybody can implement it using any stack. That's one thing. But when you look at baseline as an implementation provided by company Provide, which is one of the leading implementations, they have fundamentally, they've got something underneath in the stack called NATS. NATS is a messaging system. NATS is one of the highest performing messaging platforms that has certain qualities of service, which is like reliable delivery of messages. So, for example, this is something that all messaging systems have to have as a quality of service. And that is, when you're sending a packet of information, that information, the packet actually makes the best effort or guaranteed effort to get to the destination, meaning you don't have drop packets, right? And so and this is one of the things that we used to do back in the day, messaging systems with different qualities of service, because the folks like the telcos needed, their OSS systems be able to communicate, with a certain quality of service, right? So NATS is a platform that has that as a core aspect of it, and Provide uses that as a messaging platform between different systems, disparate systems. So that is actually a very good thing to get from the get-go. And because Baseline does a lot of the workflows outside of the mainnet, so you're not necessarily bogged down by the performance of the mainnet, because a lot of the workflows are done off-chain, if you want to call it that. Mark, correct me if I'm making any misstatement in terms of terminology, but you can do it. Gets done off-chain. So the public system of records, or public synchronization point or state, is actually only when it's required. So you're not really facing the full performance bottleneck of traditional blockchains. And I think that, so you're getting the best of both worlds with an implementation like Provide, right? And I think the two areas that I was interested in finding out more about personally is the systems integration, where you have, and your format agnostic, right? And the other one is security compliance. And I think the third one being reconciliation, which I think we have discussed in the past as being perhaps a good opportunity for Baseline. But the ones that I'm particularly curious about is systems integration in terms of format agnostic, as well as security compliance. So if you look at customers in telco, it's two types. One is established relationship, established value chain, supply chain, partners, and perhaps new ways of creating new relationships where people can come in and decide they want a certain service levels, they want a certain number of, they want to issue a new IoT device out into the market. They want to quickly get on to different service providers around the world, make relationships, and get a certain, discounted rate, for the service, and get moving. So they don't necessarily have to figure out who all do I need to kind of go and make a business relationship with, because all of that is public. And so you can essentially form those relationships, comply with the requirements of security, comply with the requirements of format. It's a formats change, it's flagged, and if there are any violations, they're flagged. And so I'm thinking that area might be very interesting, and more interesting finding out about that. With that, I'm done.
Yeah. No, awesome perspectives, Mohan. And you're right. We are heading towards convergence, and that convergence will mean that the companies who are providing services to us also need to converge and agree on certain, certain common grounds. Mark, do you have any perspectives on this one? Anushri, you have more slides?
No, that's it. After this, I'm basically asking that how can Baseline help
Okay, so yeah, we already started that, kicked off that discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, Mark, come in, please.
No, I basically understand exactly Mohan's approach on this. It's really interesting to watch how blockchain, at least the mindset about the integration and deployment, just well, still currently, but in the very recent past, the everyone basically was assuming the blockchain was going to, rip and replace a lot of the existing architecture. And, that really was unrealistic for a myriad reasons. But I think instead of abandoning it completely, we've come up with a lot more compelling utility out of blockchain, using it as a settlement layer, using it as a root of trust, and a proof of consistency, specifically that we use to baseline, to where it is always on, but it may not always be used. Because as data becomes so so copious and so numerous out there, having blockchain as the main architecture actually makes very little sense, because blockchain with the with the data replication across all of the participants, when you start putting a lot more data in there, it really starts to choke the ox, really. As opposed to contrasting it with the internet, which everyone likes to compare blockchain to the internet. At its fundamental core things, it's two very different processes and protocols. The internet with TCP/IP was a transmission protocol, which actually got much more efficient the more participants started to utilize it. Blockchain is the polar opposite, to where the more people, the more participants that you have on there, the slower it can get. And so that's where the architecture really had to evolve, before it got so massive that it just slowed to a crawl, and then ultimately just became hidebound and stopped. And so it really compelled a lot of people to start looking at different applications of blockchain technology. And this is something to where you have that universality, you have that transparency, plus you have everybody has an operational environment that is in a constant state of synchronization. And so much right now in the processes, you can have the best technology in the world, but if you don't have the right protocols and the right governance structure, it really doesn't work. I mean, to Anushrie's point, to where having the standard for data sharing and handoff is absolutely critical. That's one thing that we use within the baseline environment. Is and right now we are we have completed the final draft of the standards.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And so it now goes to OASIS for ratification. And once that is done, we now have the common set of tools and principles that all participants can start baselining. And at the same time, we're trying to make it as easy as possible by putting together a global phone book of people who have already started to adopt and ratify the standard, the body of standards that baseline will wind up utilizing. I mean, that's actually huge leap in that direction.
Yeah, that's massive. And Mark, I want to pick up your notion which you just mentioned about being in a constant state of synchronization. I think constant state of synchronization has to be our motto for today, and I want to sort of make it the hashtag for today, that that constant state of synchronization is something which is hard to achieve and expensive to achieve in current times. And to your past point again, Mark, in the previous episode you had spoken about the total cost of ownership of a conventional system versus baselined systems or baselinable systems. And there's a massive saving on setting it up, using it, and best part is the current stack that we have, the current providers that we already have on board. They are providing in a pay as you go model. So yeah, and Anushri, coming back to you, so if you were to look at systems that you currently look at, being a telecom professional, being in a company like yours, or working with the kind of clients that you already have, imagine if you were to achieve the constant state of synchronization, what all do you see going out?
So Yeah, that is a great point. Like as Mark mentioned and yourself as well, this constant state of synchronization definitely sounds to me like just expressing here that it's something that would solve a lot of issues. So what happens right now is that my systems, like all these separate components, have to be always in sync. And that happens through, still that happens in
Yeah.
most of the service providers, it happens through traditional systems of syncing. Those are standards and which are available there, but
Yeah.
there still is a resync process. There's a process
Yeah.
associated to it that consumes your memory and the database and everything, right? So and also at the same time, different companies, different systems can utilize different databases. There are in-memory, out structured, non-structured, different kind of database are there.
Yeah.
So the process of syncing has to be always established and by either traditional way or other way or as a process. But that is a separate process. So if a baseline, as I can understand, can bring something like a constant sync, irrespective,
Yeah.
agnostic to the layer, the backend layer, then that would be a huge, establishment as a standard across all the systems.
Yeah. So we need you to go on a
Because
mission and
going
recruit more
back to something
telecom
what
professionals.
Mark
Ooh, what happened?
mentioned. Oh,
Okay.
sorry,
Yeah,
the
your internet
internet.
bust. No worries. Yeah, you're
Okay,
back.
now it's back. Yeah, yeah. You need me to go on a mission for?
I need you to go on a mission and recruit more telecom professionals to understand the value of constant state. And
Yeah,
then they should start baselining because I as far as I know, we don't have a telecom player right now who's one of the sponsors.
I
Um,
see.
is that,
Okay.
is that right,
See,
Mohan? You don't have a telecom guy, right? So yeah, I think that this should be yeah. Let me stop the share. So I think honestly this was a very informative session today. We I think we had a great chat, understanding your world, your ecosystem, and sort of how baseline can make a difference. Um, I'm sure the kind of topics that we picked up do need more episodes like this one.
yes,
But I'm just conscious of the time that we had set forth for it. So you know what? Let's do this. Let's also do a part two of this, where we sort of double click, dive deeper, just pick up
yes,
one type of systems we are
sure.
talking about because and sort of let's go to the whiteboard. Let's sort of draw to be states of how potentially baseline can come in and do something because there's a hackathon coming up, Anushree, and I think you being I know you've got a background, you can fold up sleeves and code stuff, so why don't you participate or encourage other people to participate in the upcoming hackathon at ETH Atlanta. So and that's one
This is
announcement for the
hacking what?
community as well.
This
Yeah,
is
so ETH
ethical
Atlanta.
hacking, right?
No, ETH Atlanta is an event which is happening in Atlanta, and this year's big theme is baseline. And
Okay.
Consensus is sponsoring it. Baseline community also. I mean, there's a proposal today for approving some grants for the hackathon. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be informative. It's going to be full of dollars coming in. I've also been talking to Indian community developers to start participating. It's in the first week of October, first to third.
So
It's
that
going to be
sounds
a lot of yeah. It's going to be
awesome.
near
I
there
can hear,
now.
yeah.
So that's the Independence Day coming up tomorrow,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're having their celebration here. India's Independence Day is tomorrow. I'm glad we are having this episode today. I would like to wish all the Indians watching this one a very happy Independence Day. It fell on a Sunday, so yeah, bummer. We lost one holiday, but we're still good. Happy about it. So thanks, Anushri, for making it to today's show. I would like to sign off by saying everybody who's watching us on YouTube, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. We keep coming up with updates and announcements via this channel. Do attend this show every Saturday at 6 p.m. Thank you so much, Mark. Thanks, Mohan, for making it. See you next time. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Yeah. Thanks so much. It was really fun. and a very interesting point of views as well.